Good evening, good evening. Hi everybody. Hi everybody and welcome to another episode of Theatre&Tonic. My name is Emmy. Hope you're doing well. That's all right. I'm just waiting for Lara to join us, but welcome to another episode of Theatre&Tonic. I am Emmy and I run Carpe Diem Emmy, which is a theatre and lifestyle and travel blog. I've been doing it for 7 years now, and I now do Theatre&Tonic, which is a weekly chat with some of the people in the industry, and it's a great way to chat about any exciting news coming up, but also just to get some inspiration from some of the biggest names in theatre. So this evening I am joined by Lara Martins, who is here, so I will and pause the music. That would be a good idea. So I'll wait for Lara to jump in.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, how are you? Very well in this sunny, beautiful day.
Oh, it's gorgeous, isn't it? It's so nice.
Oh, I know, so nice. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm happy now. I've got a gin and tonic. I'm ready for the weekend.
Yes, look. Ta-da!
Cheers. It's got to be done. It's got to be done.
Got to be done.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Pleasure.
It's so good to kind of outreach a little bit. So for those who aren't aware of who you are, can you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
So I am Portuguese, but I've been living in London for many, many years. I trained as a classical singer, and for many years that's what I did. I did a lot of opera productions, classical concerts, and then I got into Phantom of the Opera, and I played Carlotta for six years in Phantom, so a long time. And now I do a little bit of everything. I do crossover. I don't really like pigeonholing I don't like boxes. So I like to call myself a singer. So, I'm not an opera singer or musical theater singer. I'm just a singer. And I sing different styles and, different kinds of music. So, this is who I am.
So where did it all begin for you with the classical singing?
So, I always loved music, and my father in particular was a big lover of classical music. He's not a musician, but I grown up with classical music around my house. And I remember going to the opera with him when I was little. And I guess my voice was very suited to opera, to classical singing. So when I started training, I went into, a conservatoire, a classical training method, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess my voice was very suited to that style. So, I just went that route,
Yeah.
And then I came to England to study at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama on the classical department, singing department. And then, I started working as an opera singer. And when I arrived in Phantom I never really thought I was going to do a musical theatre. It never crossed my mind. So it was a bit out of the blue. It was unexpected turn that life, sometimes plays with you. But it was just great. Yeah.
So do you know, with your classical singing, is it kind of natural for you to kind of fall into a pigeonhole? of that kind of style of music?
Yeah, I guess so, especially, it's so specific what you do. And when you go down that route of, you're an opera singer or you sing lots of, just classical repertoire, song recitals, concerts, oratorio, which is sacred music. So many things. But yes, I mean, when you start doing that style, it's very specific. And also a lot of classically trained singers, they are scared of doing other styles because, it's so specific, the technique, the way you sing. And you always kind of, it's like an athlete of the voice, in the sense that you really don't want to mess up with your technique singing other styles, and you're scared as well. So I guess you just stay in that niche, in that kind of style. So anyway, even for me, when I start singing other styles, I was a bit scared. I'm not gonna lie, I was, because being a classical trained singer and doing that for so many years, I was always scared that I was going to hurt my voice. And this is what classical singers think, oh my God, if I belt that note, I'm just totally gonna, do damage. For me to understand that actually no, if you know what you're doing, you're okay. It's another technique that you have to learn.
So go on.
No, go on.
So how do you take care of your voice? What's really important for you as a classical singer to look after it?
I mean, as a singer in general, I'm actually quite relaxed in terms of, especially for a classical singer, in terms of what I do with my voice. I guess it's just the basic things, Obviously, I don't smoke. I smoke from time to time. I like to smoke cigars. Yeah, so I smoke a cigar from time to time, but yes, just drink lots of water, try to rest as much as I can, I guess when I was in Phantom, I had to be really careful because obviously 8 shows a week singing Carlotta is really hardcore. I mean, there were times when, you're so tired when you're doing 8 shows a week that even I try to limit the amount of speaking during the day, because especially when you get to, maybe Friday and you still have 2 shows, you already done, 6 shows, and then you have another 2-day show to go on Saturday, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired. So yeah, but in general, just the basic stuff, really,
Oh, that's really interesting. I always thought with classical singers, because of how different the voice is, that there's more to think about with care. I really thought there was a lot more to it.
I think loads of singers will say different things. As I said, I'm not really a singer that is, oh my God, I can't do this or I can't do that. I'm quite relaxed about, obviously, I'm not going to go and shout and do stupid things with my voice if I had to go and sing a classical repertoire the next day, because obviously the strain on the voice, I in the sense of, the amount of what you demand of a classical voice, it's a lot. We mustn't forget that we do not use microphones, so all the projection is done by the power of the voice. So the voice has to be 100% healthy,
That must be a real challenge as well then. If you've not got a microphone, that must be really challenging.
Yeah, I think sometimes people forget about that, So they go to opera shows and they think, oh, but why do they do this? Why do they not interact a bit more? Or why do they not do certain things in terms of the drama or the theatricality of the show? And, a lot has to do because we do not use microphones. And therefore, there is a lot of movements that a classical singer cannot do. For instance, you can't turn your back to the audience. Because if you turn your back to the audience while you are singing, you just shut the all acoustics, So this is something very basic, but people just forget about it, you know? So there is a lot of things that you have to be really careful, because the power of the voice and the fact that it has to be 100% healthy. So I would say that if I'm doing classical repertoire, maybe I am a little bit more careful, because, you know, you have to be really on top of your game, in the sense that the demands on the vocals are really extreme, you know.
Absolutely. So during your career, what has been the greatest challenges for you personally?
Do you know, I would say that singing Carlotta 8 times a week, it's really challenging, you know, and also because I have a family, I have two small children. So, you know, it's not like I could just rest during the day, you know. So,
Mm.
you know, when you think about doing a role like that, that is quite demanding vocally, you know, you go from really high to low, and she's always really high
Mm.
energy, you know, so even if you're really tired, you can't show it, you know. It always demands so much of you, as energy and heavy costumes and vocally. So it's actually a really tiring role to do. So I would say doing that 8 shows a week, it's very challenging, you know. So, and also, you know, the fact that I couldn't really rest during the day, because, you know, I had to do what moms do, take care of, you know, my kids. So by the time I would leave to the theater, I already done, you know, a full day work at home. You know, so I've done that for many years,
Mm.
that was challenging, but yeah, I loved it.
How do you balance that then with like home and work life? Because like you say, with what you do for work, it is about resting, isn't it? So how do you find that kind of balance?
There is, you know, there is a lot of challengings with being a performer, a woman, and being and having kids and having a family. Um, you have to travel a lot if you are doing what I do now, basic freelancing, concerts here and there, and spending time away from home. And I guess being at Phantom, I mean, even if it was really challenging physically for me, it was great in the sense that I could stay at home with my children, you know. I didn't have to travel. I had a stable,
Mm.
a routine that it's so important as a mom. So it was great in that sense. But you know, I mean, obviously there are a lot of challenges, and the rest, being able to rest is one of them. You know, you have sleepless nights, or you have to take care of, you know, you up at 7 in the morning, school run, blah, blah, blah. You know, you never stop. So you just get used to it. Honestly, if you have to do it, you just get on with it and do it. And I guess your body just gets used to be like that, and to just get on with it.
Yeah, and hopefully make most of any kind of nap time, I'm sure.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
so what was it like working on Phantom of the Opera? Because obviously it has such a big reputation. So did you kind of feel any pressure when you kind of went into it?
You know, I'm going to say this, it's going to sound really strange, but the world of musical theater was completely alien to me, because I before I joined Phantom, I must have seen maybe 2 shows in my life. So I didn't really have that pressure, I guess. Obviously, I knew Phantom of the Opera. I mean, everybody knows Phantom of the Opera, but I didn't have that pressure. I think when I go into an audition now of musical theater work, obviously I know who people are, and I have much more pressure than before. I mean, I didn't even knew who Cameron McIntosh was. I know this sounds terrible. Sorry, but honestly, when I started, I didn't even knew who he was. So I did three rounds one on my audition in Phantom. So obviously the third round was for Cameron, but I had no idea who he was. So honestly, this is how alien I was to this world. So, I mean, obviously, if I went now and auditioned for camera, I will be like, but not then, you know? So, yeah. But when I got into fandom, I think what was really interesting for me was completely different way of working. You know, there was so many funny stories. I mean, I would forget my microphone all the time, because I was not used to use a microphone. So the way it works is, you know, you are in your dressing room, you put your mic, and then they would come, put your wig on, blah, blah, blah. But you're responsible for putting your mic on. But I mean, I forgot so many times. There was one time they literally had to, and you know, Carlotta opens the show, right? So the overture was already playing, and I was just about to get on stage, and the sound guy that's backstage, you know, where's your mic? I was like, oh my God, I haven't got a mic. So literally all these people stripping me off, like taking my wig off, trying to put a mic. I mean, the panic. And since that day, they had the sound guy had to come to my room to make sure I had my mic, and he did that for my last 3 months in Phantom. So, you know, things like that. It was just a complete different world, you know. Yeah, so lots of funny things like that.
Oh, how funny. And what was your favourite moment from that experience?
Look, I was there for such a long time that there is a lot of favorite moments. I mean, obviously working with Hal Prince has to be one of my, you know, and Gillian Lynn. I got to work with them in a few occasions, and that was just amazing, you know, because they, you know, they were legends, and being able to work with the original, you know, creatives was something spectacular. That has to be maybe my favorite moment, and obviously working with Andrew as well. So that, I mean, working with legends like this has to be like the highlight.
Yeah, definitely. So what do you think it is about Phantom, from working in it? What do you think makes it so popular?
I think there is such a big combination of great music, great costumes. It's a spectacle, isn't it? It's just everything is so beautiful. And the music is beautiful, the costumes, the set. Obviously, I don't know what's going to happen now, but the original version was like that. I'm sure it will be great. I don't know. I haven't seen the tour version, so I can't comment. But I mean, it was just a combination of these three things, you know, and the plot was really nice. There was a bit of everything, with a little bit of, there was obviously the romance, but a little bit of comic hints to it, with the little Carlotta Piange, the managers. I think there was a bit of everything, you know. It made it funny. People got actually really moved as well by so there was an element of everything, and I think that was really what makes the show so successful, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm gonna like be really open about it, but I hadn't actually seen Phantom of the Opera until the tour came out. So it was one of those that was kind of like, oh, I don't know if I'd like it. I don't know if it's my cup of tea. And then I saw it on the tour before the pandemic closed, and I came home and I was like, why have I not seen it before? Like, it's beautiful. Like, it's so much more than what you think it's going to be.
Yes, I think so. And you know, the fact there was, that's funny you say that, you see, because I feel like a lot of people don't even go and see Phantom or anymore, because, you know, they say, oh, maybe, you know, it's been on for such a long time. So we have a lot of tourists going to see it, and people from abroad, maybe more people around Christmas time, New Year, you know, but it's one of those shows that also has a big fan base, and obviously those they go, but there's a lot of foreigners that go and see the show. And yeah, I don't know if it was one of those things, you know, you always think, oh, it's going to be here forever, so I can go another time.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, that was me.
Like, oh, Phantom is never going to end, it's never going to finish, so I can go anytime.
yeah, that was definitely me. I don't know why I hadn't seen it, but now I'm like, I'm gutted I haven't seen like the original London now. But obviously when it comes back, I will definitely go and see it, 'cause now I'm like, oh, I want to see what they do that's maybe different to the tour, or
Yeah.
it's strange. So obviously 2020 was a bit of a weird year, but you've
Very.
kicked off this year with a new album. So can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so 2020 was what we know. I just thought, so actually I was doing Phantom when the pandemic struck. I was doing a new production in Greece with
Mm.
a great bunch of people. Most of us have been in the West End, Ben Foster, Celinda, John Ellis. So we were having a lot of fun, great production. And then the show got cut short because of, we had to come back to England because of the COVID. And then, I wanted to do an album for a long time, but just, my life and being so busy all the time was really hard to think what am I going to record. I just didn't want to do an album just for the sake of it.
Mm.
I'm just going to do the same old tunes that everybody records. I was just like, no, it has to be something interesting and something artistically interesting. So and that requires time to think about it, and with the pandemic, I just had that time to just
Mm.
really think about what I wanted to do. And then this opportunity came with this label, and I said, yeah, do you know what? This is the perfect time. So here we go. I recorded this album called Canção. Canção is the word for song in Portuguese. So it's very much based on my cultural roots. And you can find a little bit of fado, which is the Portuguese traditional song. Um, it's very beautiful, and I think you should go and check it out because it's very different, but it's very moving kind of music.
Mm.
And then tango with the beautiful Piazzolla. And then I found the classical bit of the album, I guess, is these Brazilian songs that I recorded, which are a world premiere of this composer called Camargo Guarnieri. He's very unknown outside Brazil, but the music is absolutely gorgeous. And I found that while I was researching for the album, and I just realized that nobody ever had recorded these songs, so I just went ahead and did it myself.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I gave it a listen. It's beautiful. It's one of those like albums that I feel like I'm going to read when I'm listen to when I'm reading or when I'm just having a bit of time to myself. It's
Thank
really
you.
lovely. So how did you bring it all together? Because obviously, like you say, you've got so many different styles of like music from different cultural backgrounds. How do you bring that together?
So, I wanted to, the beginning of it was I wanted to go from the popular music, from music of the world. How does that change when these composers put to music poems of very famous poets? So something that is quite popular, quite rooted in the popular tradition, changes completely with this collaboration and becomes something much more elevated, much more, oh, this
Mm.
is actually serious music. So I wanted to explore that collaboration between popular music and poems and poetry. So this is how I tied all these things together. The tango, Piazzolla, which is a very famous composer, Argentinian composer, collaborated with this poet Horacio Herrera, and then that transformed this music, and so did the same thing happened to Fado, which has a very popular root, but it got completely transformed when people start to putting into music poetry. So, that was the thing that ties everything together. And then, I just I thought, what suits my voice? What do I love singing? How do I want to express what I'm doing? And I just chose these three composers, and I was lucky to be able to get on board wonderful musicians, and yeah, I'm really happy with what we produced and we got out.
How long did it take you to put it all together from start to finish?
I would say a couple of months, by the time I start researching and then putting everything together with the label and the musicians. So a couple of months. But actually saying that, I feel like because we were all like working for this, and because it was the pandemic, that, it was quite quick. Maybe in 3-4 months we were in the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess so. I guess with like the pandemic then, it kind of felt long but short, because obviously you had so much time to kind of do it so intensively, didn't you?
Yeah. Can you just give me 1 second? I need to open the door.
No problem. Whilst we're waiting for Lara to come back, if anyone has any questions, that would be great. And just pop them in the question box below or in the comments.
Okay, come on. So sorry. I'm back.
Okay.
It was my daughter just arriving. The poor thing, she was outside. Say hello.
Hello.
Hey. Okay. Mr. Dog, please. Sorry. She said, I want to see her say hello. I said, okay, come on. So sorry about this.
It's fine. There we go.
This is what happens.
There you go, juggling life.
See it. This is my life. Craziness,
Oh dear. So what was your favourite element of bringing this album together in such a weird time?
Do you know, I think for me this album was, I don't know what my favorite, I mean, obviously collaborating with all these amazing musicians has to be, one of my favorite things, and being able to make music, in these times, and the moment where we were in the studio recording and the rehearsal process, and it just felt like such a relief and joyful moment, with all the circumstances that were going on. And also, the fact that we were not rushing, and we had the time to really to dedicate to the project and really produce something that we could think about it, and it was just amazing experience. And in the sense, this is what this pandemic allowed us to do, just to stop and reflect about things and have the time really to do things properly, in the sense that, you don't have to rush,
Yeah, definitely. So I guess then the opposite to that is, what are the challenges? Because I'm guessing you had to kind of do homeschooling during this time as well. So
oh my God.
I work in a school, so I completely respect anyone that has to do homeschooling.
God, I tell you, I did not enjoy that at all. Bless my daughters, they're quite nice, but honestly, I mean, my respect for everyone that works in schools, teachers, assistants, it's gone like, my God, they are saints, because it's hard, isn't it? Honestly.
Yeah. And it's even harder now they're all back. We went from having like 12, 15 kids to now like 13. I'm like, oh my God, where have all these kids come from?
My God. And also, I guess with all the restrictions, and you have to be careful with, all the washing of hands and social distancing, it must be an absolute nightmare. Honestly.
Just a tad. I can't wait for it to be over now. I'm a bit tired of it.
Bless you.
So did you find that quite challenging then, having to manage kind of home life? Because obviously there was so much pressure with kind of, although not necessarily from schools to do homeschooling, but it's that underlying pressure, isn't there, to kind of do homeschooling and kind of keep your children occupied, but also working on something that you need to do for yourself?
Yeah, look, it has been really challenging. And you know, the most challenging bit was actually when we released the album, because obviously we have done it during the pandemic. So everything has to be done online, and you know, you have to prepare so many things. I mean, there was a moment that I was waking up at like 4 in the morning to be able to do all the work before the kids wake up. I'm not even joking, because I knew by the moment they wake up, that's it. There,
Yeah, that's your routine.
I have no concentration. I can't do anything. So, you know, I would set my alarm, wake up really early, and have that couple of hours before they wake up, just silence where I could concentrate, you know, think about what I needed to do, emails, all that stuff. Yeah, so it has been a real challenge, you know. But I'm so happy they're back at school, and just praying that nobody gets COVID in their bubble and they're back at home, you know. I'm like, every time I receive a text from school, I'm like, what is this? You know, I'm like freaking out, literally.
Yeah, story of my life, especially because we have to do obviously a flow test twice a week. So every Friday and Tuesday, I'm sat there waiting, like, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, thank God. Because you're just like,
God.
I can't be dealing with it. I really can't be dealing with it anymore. So,
Did you have COVID already?
nope, I've never had it. Thank God. Yeah, so
Okay.
we've not had many cases at school at all. I think we only had 3 or 4, which we feel like so lucky in that
Yeah.
everyone's okay and everyone's back at work. But we feel so fortunate in comparison to other schools that have had loads.
Yeah, I know. I know.
So it has been tricky, but I'm just glad that they're back. It's been really nice to have them back. So
Uh-huh.
in your album, is there any kind of specific connections you have to any of the songs in particular?
Look, I love them all, but obviously the fado, the Portuguese songs are very special, you know, because I mean, it's part of our culture, you know, we grow up, it's like, you know, flamenco to a Spanish person or tango to an Argentinian person. So fado for the Portuguese is like our music. So obviously that's very special. And also it's special because I think, so the way that I sing these songs, it's very different from the traditional way. I mean, usually fado, it's played with guitars, with the Portuguese guitar, which is a kind of a special guitar. And here I do it with a piano and with a jazzy feeling. So I feel like me and the pianist, Danielle, we really found a nice way of doing something that it's very traditional, but we got a new kind of way of doing it without going out of the tradition. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
You
like,
still want to hold on to it, don't you, a little bit, but still kind of give it something.
that's it. So I think we found a really good balance between tradition and something a bit different. And we gave it our take on it. And I think I'm quite proud of what we achieved. And I really like that. Yeah.
Wow. So obviously in your career, have you performed in a lot of venues? And if you have, what's been your favorite venue and why?
Everybody asks me that, and it's really hard to say. I mean, I would say I performed at the Kremlin in Moscow. So
Mm.
that was really special. That was like really, really amazing. But you know, I've actually performed in such beautiful theaters that it's
Mm.
hard to choose one. But obviously, the Kremlin was like, yeah, wow, okay. So yeah, maybe that one, maybe.
Do you think moving forward, because obviously there's Brexit that kind of plays on my mind a little bit with, you know, people like yourself, you know, touring companies, do you think that will limit the work you do in the future? And if so, does that kind of concern you a little bit that that could?
Well, I'm hoping not. I mean, I have a settlement status
Mhm.
because obviously I've been living in this country for years and years. I actually lived
Mhm.
more years in this country than in my own country, believe it or not. But I mean, I think that Brexit is a real shame for the performing arts, isn't it?
Mm.
And I'm actually worried with my English colleagues because, you know, they want, I mean, for them to work in Europe is very, very hard because, you know, the rules are completely different. They're not into this bubble of, you know, the European Union where we can just travel from country to country and we don't have to have visas and we can work and it's all like the same market. But now that's very different for them. I mean, I think for me personally, it's not going to change much in the sense that I have an European passport, so I can work anywhere. And I can work in this country because I have a settlement status. So I'm, you know, I'm just, my status didn't really change. But I am concerned about my English colleagues, British colleagues by the touring companies that I'm not going to be able to take shows outside. I mean, they are, but the costs of that are so great that it's not viable for them to do it. And so complicated as well, you know, so complicated. I mean, I was listening to a webinar from Equity the other day about this, and it's an absolute nightmare. I'm just hoping that the government are gonna actually, after all this craziness of COVID goes, that they're gonna find a way of changing this, because this is just not possible. And it's a great shame for England, you know, like a country that is always up there on performing arts. I mean, this is one of the flags of this country, you know, and the fact that we are going to be completely isolated, it's a real shame. So I think I have this hope that things are going to change, you know, because it has to. It's too silly not to. It doesn't make any sense, you know.
No.
I just think they are too busy with other things at the minute. But I think Equity is also putting a lot of pressure, and, you know, a lot of high profile actors and artists are really, you know, trying to battle this, trying to fight this battle. And I am hopeful things will change. Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, me too. It's something that like never used to play on my mind, but I think as we kind of emerge out of the pandemic, I'm kind of like, oh, okay, so how is that going to change the face of the West End and touring theatre? Because a lot of them have this, so it's such an important collaboration with European artists, and
you
know, and
the European artists are not going to come here anymore, are they? Because they can't. And, you know, it doesn't make sense for a show to employ an European artist unless he's like someone like me that lives here, that has a settlement status, that, you know, it doesn't. But someone that comes, you know, from abroad and to do a show or to try their luck, that's not going to happen anymore, you know, because it's just not possible. And I feel like even like, you know, the schools, the big schools, you know, all the performing arts school are going to suffer immensely, because, you know, all these European people are not going to come here and study anymore because they can't really afford it, you know, because now they're going to pay overseas fees that are, you know, ridiculous. So they're not going to come here. And also it's very, you know, would you come to a country that, you know, you won't be able to stay if you want to try your luck? Do you know? And so all this, I think it's going to change, and it's going to be, you know, we're going to be less diverse, less interesting, less cosmopolitan. I mean, it's going to change completely. So I'm just hoping that we not get to that extreme, and meanwhile, rule changes, you know?
Yeah, it's a very weird time, I think, for the industry as a whole, like theatre, music. I just think we're coming through like such a weird time, and I do think the face of it's going to be so different to what we've seen before, completely.
Absolutely. It's a very weird time for, as you say, you know, not only we have this pandemic, and I mean, fingers crossed that this opening now, it's, you know, we never have to shut again. But obviously, I feel like it's a possibility for many people. For us artists, we always scared, okay, is this going to happen? Is this for good? Or are we going to, and the producers must be the same, everybody. I mean, we all trying to be really positive, but there's still a lot of doubts in the air, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's hard. And also, you know, there's so many shows that have to be rescheduled there's no openings for new productions, new things, so it's gonna take a long time until things are gonna be normal.
Yeah,
If they
whatever
ever
that
gonna
is.
be this normal, we don't know, but honestly it's gonna take ages and ages. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there something then that you'd love to do in your career? Is there something like a goal that you kind of think, oh, I'd love to do that and I haven't done it yet?
Do you know, I've never been one of these people that, oh, I have this dream and I really want to do this. I don't know why. I've never been like this. I always feel like, obviously there's things that I like, that I set my eye on or I would like to do, but they always like some things that are achievable or short term. I never say, oh, I would love to, do this, or so I don't think so. I mean, my main goal always is to keep singing, to keep doing what I love, to be able to earn my life doing what I love, so basically keep having jobs coming in and being happy and busy, and yeah, and being able also to strike this balance between work and family and being happy in both of them, because
Mm.
sometimes it's hard to get that balance right, because with this job, you always have to make sure that you have jobs, but also you have the time to give to your family and your kids and your
Mm.
husband and whoever surrounds you. So yeah, I mean, that's what I try to achieve with my life, and this is my goal. This is what I want.
Mm. Is it quite difficult to get work within your field? Is it quite limited to what is available?
I mean, obviously, there is a lot of competition out there.
Mm.
I mean, the performing arts sector is very competitive, especially in a place like England, because, there's so many amazing people here. Obviously, there are a lot more opportunities than in a lot of other countries, but there is also a lot more competition. So it's very competitive, yeah. But I guess, you just have to keep going. I mean, if you are in this job, that's the first thing you learn, how to deal with rejection and how to keep going, because there's no other way, you know. This
Mm.
is the first thing you need to learn how to deal with, because for one yes, you get 10 no's.
Yeah. And how do you pick yourself up after that? What do you do that like helps you come out of that, do you think?
You always feel a bit like disappointed for, when you're told, oh, sorry, it didn't work out, or, we decided to go for someone else. Obviously, it's disappointed and you get, a little bit upset, but, it just let last for like maybe 1 or 2 days, and then you just bounce back, because it's not personal. This is a thing we have to really say to ourselves. It's not because they didn't like you, because you're not good. It's because maybe there was something that was better than you, or also more suited it to what they were looking for. And therefore, I mean, that's the thing. There's so many people out there that you can almost choose the color of their eyes, because, there's so many options. You can be really specific and you will find what. And also they have their ideas, what they want. So, it's really, for you to get a job, you have to really have so many things to make it happen. It's not only, oh, you're good. That's just the beginning of it.
Mm.
That every other thing has to come to it.
For sure. So, um, in your field, there's obviously quite a lot of competition. There's quite a lot of talent out there. There's loads of big names. Is there anyone in particular that really inspires you within your field?
Oh gosh,
You can say a couple if you want.
oh my God, that is really hard. I mean, there's so many inspirational people out there. God, I really could not. I guess it really depends what style. I usually love people that do different things, that are not that are not scared of just going and do different styles, but do it with real quality, you know, not trying to imitate something that they're not, you know.
Hmm.
So I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm going to say names that people don't know because they're quite classical crossover. I love Renée Fleming, which is an opera singer. She's amazing. She was also here doing Light in the Piazza. That was
Oh, yeah, I have heard the
the
name
mother,
before.
so she played the role. So she's fantastic. I really loved her as an opera singer. And then Dan Upshaw, I love her as well, which is again a classical trained singer, but she does a lot of different repertoire as well. I mean, really, there's so many people. So many people. Yeah, I love so many people. It's really hard to say. Yeah.
It must be quite enjoyable in your work then that you get to just listen to so many different people, and I guess you kind of take something from each one, don't you, naturally?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was so lucky. I've been, and I continue to be so lucky to be able to work with such amazing people. And, you know, you learn every day, you know, you learn things every day when you're working, and you exchange experiences and tips. And, you know, I help someone, someone helps me. Oh, how, you know, I can't get this. How do you do it? And, you know, it's so great because, you know, if you really open yourself to other people, and it's really a collaborative a relationship, isn't it? You learn with
Yeah.
each other, and
Mm.
this is what is the joy about this work, is this, you know, you really every work you do, every job you do, you get out of it 100 times richer than when you were when you started, you know, because you just learn with everybody, even, you know, I mean, with everyone, with a technician, with, it doesn't have to be with your fellow person on stage, you know, it's just, I mean, the performing arts and everyone that works in it, it's such a rich and wider kind of people with such wider interests, talents, you know. It's amazing, amazing. I
Mm.
mean, I was always so baffled by people who, you know, they would come and, I've made this amazing piece of jewelry, or, you know, people have 100 talents, and I'm like, God, you're also clever, you know. Yeah, sorry, I'm completely diverting here to another subject. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You just learn with, yeah, the experience of working in the performance arts. I would say this is, you know, one of the highlights, is just the wide range of people you come in contact with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that's fundamental to you in your career then, is to have these opportunities to collaborate, because without them, you kind of don't grow, do you? You don't learn and you don't develop as an artist, do you? You kind of stay one level
Yeah.
playing field as such, don't you?
And this is also the thing, you know, you sometimes encounter people that you really find that you have something in common, and you start a project, and oh, we should do this, let's do this. And, you know, this exactly what you say, you know, it's like a networking thing, you know. And yeah, it's just, yeah, it's very, very rewarding.
So if people wanted to get into classical singing, as I say, there's a young person who does classical singing and kind of aspires to do something with that, what kind of advice would you give them?
With classical singing, you have to be very patient, because people don't it's not an, you know, sometimes people think, oh, we just born singing opera. That is not
No.
possible. Nobody does that. So classical singing, it's really about training the voice, and that takes many years. You don't learn how to sing classical singing with, you know, three, four lessons. It's years and years of training, because there's so many things that need to work together in your body to produce this sound. You know, it's a very specific technique. It's really like a pianist or a violin player or a cellist, you know. They don't learn how to play the cello in 1 or 2 years, do they? Well, classical singing and singing, it's exactly the same thing. So if you want to train as a classical singer, be patient and be ready to train for a few years. You don't learn how to do it in, you know, it's not, you can't really cut corners. You have to really be patient and find a great teacher that you relate with, in the sense of, you know, there's a lot of great teachers, but if you feel like it's not really appealing to you, if it's not helping you out, maybe that's not the right person. Go and find someone else, you know. So find a teacher, find someone that you feel that you're improving with, that really it's taking you somewhere, and just be patient. And yeah, be patient. And yes.
Yeah, that's good advice. My friend from college, she was very much a musical theatre singer, and it wasn't until she left when she was about 17, 18 that she started training in classical, because she all of a sudden realised that's where she wanted to voice to be. And she, you know,
That's
like
a
she
great
said,
age to start. That's a great
yeah,
age to start. I started my classical training when I was 17. And, you know, I think that's great, because you know how you always have a little break in your voice? I mean, it's less noticeable in women, obviously, but I guess 16, 17 is the perfect time to start, because you're more established, you know?
yeah.
So that's the perfect. But also I would say, you know, having a classical technique, it's great for all kinds of singing, because it's really the healthy way. The basis of singing are the same, you know, no matter if you sing pop or rock or musical theatre, the basics, you know, of healthy singing are the same. And I think you learn this when you were classically trained, especially. So therefore, you know, you having a few years of classical training, it's going to do you so good. No matter if you want to go to musical theatre or other styles, I think the base as a classical technique, it's great.
Absolutely great advice. So just to tie up our Q&A, why should people listen to your album, and where can they get it from? Where can they listen to it?
So they can listen to it on all digital platforms, Spotify, Amazon, everything. And if you want the CD, you can get it through the label, which is Artway Records. You can just type and it will come up, Artway Records. But you can listen to it in all digital platforms. I think, as you said, it's really easy listening. You just put it on. You can just, you know, it's very chilled music. And if you want to hear something completely different and music that perhaps you've never heard before or you haven't encountered, I think it's a great go get Canção and listen to it, and I think you'll be maybe happily surprised.
Absolutely, yeah. I think you need to listen to it with a glass of G&T. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time this evening, Lara. It's been really lovely
Thanks for
to
having
you.
me. Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome.
Enjoy your weekend and your gin and tea.
I will indeed. I'm going to make a lot of these this weekend, I think. Thank you so much, Lara. Take care of yourself.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. So that was Lara. I'm really sorry I didn't see your question, Charlie, but I will send it over to Lara so she can get back in touch with you. That was really nice. I'm just going to play one of her songs in the background whilst I just tie up, because it's beautiful, and just so you can listen to a little bit of her voice. It's
It's so beautiful. So thank you very much to Lara for joining me this evening for tonight's Theatre and Tonic. I will be back next Friday where I will be joined by Jenna Boyd. If you didn't know, we did a Q&A last week, but then my video didn't save, so me and Jenna decided we are going to redo it again, this time next Friday. So do join us there, and I shall speak to you very soon. Happy Friday. Cheers.